Hello, this is Brian Miller. Welcome to another edition of Next Generation Network Ministries. We're so honored to have you here today. It's a pleasure to have my friend, Jamie Neese from Kentucky. We're going to get in and interview Brother Jamie here today. So, Brother Jamie, tell the audience that is watching, name, family, where you're from, what you're currently doing in ministry.
Okay. My name is Jamie Neese. I'm from Whitesburg, Kentucky. I'm married. Beautiful wife, Judah. She was an Atkins. She's Brother Billy Atkins' daughter. My father-in-law, Brother Billy Atkins, a great man of God. We currently have one child, a 7-year-old boy, Jacob. We evangelize, and also, I guess you'd sort of call it, I don't know if we'd be full-time, but we're part-time. We help a lot at the home church. We both teach Sunday school and preach revivals, as we're called. So we try to keep everything, all hands on deck and in the fire, so to say. We're from a small community, 1,500 people maybe in that community. So if you get out and you get involved in that community, then you can really make an impact because of the size of that community. So everybody at home is well known, and we try to influence the young people. We try to do our best to influence them, as well as try to help the seniors in our area with the nursing home. Sometimes we do visitation there, and we just do go when the bids and opens the door. We go, we preach, and do our best to serve the Lord. The best for our abilities, Brian.
And that's a great ministry. Is someone that will go when called, but someone that's faithful enough to stay at home and help the home church.
Yes, sir.
It's a great ministry. So we're going to get back into your younger life and meet Brother Jamie Neese from a child all the way up through now. So tell us a little bit about your home life, where you was born, a little bit about Mom and Dad. Was you born in a Christian home?
Yes, sir. I was born in a Christian home. My parents, were faithful members of holiness. Thank God for holiness heritage. Not everybody's blessed with that.
Right.
And I'm very thankful that I was raised in that setting. My parents were Christians, like I said before, and they were the typical Kentucky family. They would take, when the preachers would come, preach meetings, they'd always bring them home. We'd cook them dinner. My mother many times has told stories about sitting around with Brother Claude Ely and different ones as he came and preached revivals in that area. And they sang at a lot of funerals. And my parents, they sung, had a ministry. They went out and sang when I was young. I can remember going with them and playing the drums for them at a young age. But one thing, Brother Brian, was you talk about this from birth. The Lord really, He worked on me from a young age. When my mother was pregnant with me back in, I was born in '78, so when she was pregnant with me, she had some complications, and they tried to get her to do it, which was a DNC, which is an abortion, basically, And she said, no. She said, I'm not going to. They said, well, she said, the doctors had told her, said, you're going to put this child through pure misery. Said his life will be just a miserable wreck. He's going to be a vegetable, and you'll probably die from complications. And my mother said, listen, I don't believe in abortion.
Right. I
don't believe in DNC. She said, I'm going to trust the Lord. So at that time, my mother went in and they went into prayer, and a fellow preacher from that area at that time came to her, and he told her, he said, Sister Neese, he said, I've been praying. He said, the Lord showed me that hospital room where he's going to have that child. And he said, the Lord showed me that he's going to be a boy.
Wow.
And she said he's going to be perfectly fine. And I don't know about the perfectly fine part, but he named the gender.
Wow.
And he told her exactly how it was going to be. And by the grace of God, she had that and never had a complication from it.
Wow.
And just, so God, I think He had something for me from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And so it was just a miracle in itself, And as a young child, she taught us, my father taught us, trust in the Lord, and taught us a lot about beauty of holiness, how it is to live holy and be holy. So from early age, we had that in us. You know, we went to Sunday school, faithful to church. We never had an option. When church time came, we went to church. You know, nowadays, people give their children options to go. It never hurt me any. You know, they said, listen, it's church time. We're going to church. They were faithful members to God's house, faithful to the work that God had called them to do in the church. And my parents, I couldn't ask for a better home life. They treated me so well throughout my life. I can look back upon things where I can see the hand of God, how He sheltered me through the years at home, and I couldn't ask for a better life at home, Brother Brian. Just great parents, and bringing up my siblings was all, and by the grace of God, all in church.
Right. So that's wonderful. So tell us, at what age were you saved? What was that experience like, and who did you get saved under?
Okay, we went to Big Town Pentecostal, well, it was Big Town Church of God then, and I can remember, I've been in church all my life. I remember going to church, and I remember at a young age, probably around 8, 9-year-old, really getting serious with God. And I can remember those days when Brother Bill Houston would come, and I remember there was a lot of people preach, but I always remember Brother Bill Houston. He would come and he would preach to us. He'd preach hell so hot that your feet would burn. You know, and you know, we look at people, we don't like for them to get in their comfort zone, but you know, I'm so thankful that man of God told me and pointed to me and said, you're going to hell if you don't change your ways. And it takes that. Some people, it takes that. And I can remember at that young age, I got saved, and I loved church, and you know, and I had to make some choices. I can remember at the age of 12 when I wanted to play sports and baseball. Loved baseball, and I remember very vividly. My coach, he would call me. You know, we need you to play. We're going to play this year. And then I remember also my pastor was Brother Darrell Allen, and he said, Jamie, you got a choice. He said, you can play these drums or you can play baseball. So right then I began to lay off some things that the Lord had been dealing with me with, and I had to make a choice. You know, the pulpit is a sacred place to be kept clean, and I said, you know what, I'm done with sports, organized sports. I said, I need more of God. So I gave that up, and I got in and began to worship the Lord and get a deeper walk with Christ. And you know, we see a lot of people that's in church, and they think, well, you know, I've been raised in this all my life, and you get numb to the situation of church, I guess you could say. And what happened to me, Brother Brian, is probably the age when I got just graduated 8th grade, I guess it was. I played drums in church, you know, from the time I was 7-year-old, you know, on up when I got saved, and I became a teenager, you know, those know-it-all teenage years, you know. So I began to sort of drift away from God. And, you know, people think, well, you can't backslide and go to church, you know, 3 days a week. You can. I did. I backslid right out of the pulpit. You know, the devil came to me. I can remember the night, Brother Brian, that the devil came to me with a lie and told me that you know, people didn't really appreciate me, and that he tried to turn me against God's people, and pulled me. I backslid underneath the shadow of the steeple. So I got out of church at that age, and I was out. I backslid, and I was out through most of my high school years. And God still had His hand on me. He was so faithful to me, Brother Brian. He was so faithful. I got in a motorcycle wreck. I knew God's ways. I knew the touch of God. And you can never feel the power of God and get out and away from Him. You know that touch.
Right.
You can never get away from the Father's house, you know. So I got in a motorcycle accident in high school. I wrecked a motorcycle, and I'll never forget the sound of that bike as it hit. I hit a guardrail, probably 45, 50 mile an hour, with my back It's like I was sitting in a chair, just slapped against the guardrail. I should have been killed. Should have been killed. No less paralyzed. I should have been paralyzed. And you know, when I was there, and during that time of that wreck, when I opened my eyes, it was pitch dark, and I could hear a chain. You know, I could hear a chain, and it all came back to me. The chains of hell, you know, the sound, and I thought I died and went to hell.
Wow.
Such fear gripped my heart. You know, I have died and went to hell. Me a backslider right off the drums of the church. And at that time, what really had happened is when I wrecked, it turned my helmet around on my head. So I thought it was, you know, I'm like, man, I'm in pitch darkness. I'm dying in hell, and I see just a little glimmer of light. And when I began to reach and feel it, it turned my helmet completely around on my head.
Wow.
And just the impact of that wreck. But you know, that day, I should have prayed right then, because I felt God, I felt that conviction. But just the fear of knowing that you came from a holiness home, from a holiness church, listen to these great men of God all your life. Brother Randy Webb preached homecoming for us about every year. But to know that I came from the seat of a set of drums on a holiness platform, and the thought of dying and going to hell is something I'll never forget. I'll never forget that, Brother Brian. So I finally realized what had happened, you know.
Right.
And still I went on, and I got deep in sin, very deep in sin, and I don't tell a lot of it. You know, because I don't want to give any glory to the devil whatsoever. But I helped destroy a lot of lives in my area when I was in sin, and it weighs on you, you know. And I told the Lord, I made him his promise. I was in my 20s when I got saved. I got back, made my way back to the Lord, but I made him his promise, Brother Brian. I said, if you'll save me, God, all those lives I've destroyed, I'll do my best to try to win them back to you. And that's my goal. That is my goal. And I was out with one of my best friends one night, and it was always the same thing. Is, you know, when you get out and both of us here was two backsliders. Every weekend we would sit and we'd cry, you know, and we'd say, I ain't doing this again. I ain't never doing this again. You know, because we knew what was doing was wrong, and we knew we was backsliders. So in my early 20s, that spirit of conviction just kept drawing on me. And I made my way back to the Lord, come home one night, and it's just so odd that I've been out with one of my preacher friends, and he'd been, you know, I wasn't saved, but he was, and he was trying to encourage me, you know, to get back in church. I could just look over my life at how God had stopped me from making so many bad decisions. And so in my mid-20s, I gave my heart back to the Lord, and God's been so good to me, so good to my family. He saved me, called me to preach, and I can just go on and on, Brother Brian, about how good God's been to me. But I'm so grateful for the second chance that God gives us. You know, not all prodigals come home, but I'm glad I did.
Thank God, thank God.
Glad I did, Brother Brian.
So you ended there with the call to preach, and we'll just spin right off that. You get saved, you get called back home, you accept that, the prodigal returns.
Yes, sir.
What was the call to preach like? How did you know? What took place?
I was the most miserable human being ever. You know you had a work to do. You felt like you had a work to do, but you really didn't know I didn't know what it was. You know, I ran from the calling for quite a while. Ran from that call, and I just became the most miserable person there ever was. I would go to church and I would pray and I would fast and I'd seek God, and I said, God, I know there's something you want me to do. And finally, I just had a breakdown, and you know, tongues and interpretation came forth, and the Lord spoke directly to my heart. You know, and He spoke of the calling that I had on my life. So I always say I'll give Brother Wayne Allen credit for. He's a great man of God, a great guy, and he pushed me out. if it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be preaching right now, because I was so backward, so backward. And he said, son, he told me, he said, now son, I know God's got a calling on you. He said, the Lord done spoke to me, basically. And he said, some Tuesday night, they had a youth service on Tuesdays down in Hazard at Trinity Homes Tabernacle. So he told me, he said, now Tuesday night, he said, you're going to preach. I said, no, he said, it's too late, you're going to preach. Some people just like the old eagle in the throw them out for the wind, that was me. He sort of just put me out of the nest, So I said, no, Brother Wayne, I tried to back out of it, and so I was outside, and he had a radio program on Sundays on WSGS, and I was listening to that. I was outside walking, and all of a sudden I heard him come on, and he announced it on the radio.
Oh, wow.
So that was it. It was done set in stone. Whether I wanted to or not, I was doing it. And I hadn't told my mother, I hadn't told my father, and I was dating my wife to be at that time, and my mom was in the house, and she heard it on the radio. So she said, what? Did he say what I thought he said? He said, is Jamie going to preach? He ain't told me nothing, and I was like, oh, she's going to kill me. I should have told him, but I hadn't. I made up my mind right then, I thought, well, God, if a man has got that much faith in me, I always had the self-confidence issues when it came to stuff like that.
Right.
I thought I'm never good enough, I'm not good enough, because some of the sin I got so deep in, at times, I thought I can never, I know God covers that sin, but it was a place that I thought I could never just get out of and make right enough. I know a man doesn't deserve the honor and the privilege, to be a preacher, but I'm just glad that he bestowed that on me. But now, Brother Dwayne Allen, he announced it on the radio, so therefore Tuesday night came.
You knew it.
I knew it, and I thought, well, there'll just be a few home folks, there may not be, many people. They were setting out chairs, and I was, oh, Lord, it was coming to everybody, and here it is, and, the Lord came by, and we had an absolute great service. The Holy Ghost fell in that service, and I said, God, this is it. So I knew, I said, whatever you want, I'll do it.
So two follow-up questions. Number one, you felt the call, you were just waiting for the push.
Yes.
And just the self-confidence issue.
Yes.
Second one, just a little trivia that only you would know, and maybe me and the listeners would like this answer. Haven't asked this one, I'm going to show you. Do you remember your first sermon while you preached?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
I preached on what will the seed bring. Wow. What will the seed bring? I preached on the parable of the sower. Wow. What will the seed bring? And I can remember it plain as day. I was so nervous. If I don't remember any, I better remember that one. I was so nervous, I preached on what will the seed bring, the parable of the sower. And God just came by and helped me tremendously, because Lord knows I was a wreck.
My first sermon was 14 minutes.
14 minutes. Mine probably wasn't much longer at that point.
People were praying that I get back to the 14-minute sermon.
No, they want us to go back. Don't go forward, just stay in the middle somewhere.
When they pray, where's God? Help them, God.
Yeah, they're really saying, somebody watch that clock. Stop the clock, stop the clock.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So you talked about Brother Darrell Allen, and obviously had a great impact in your life. Talk to us about some men before salvation, or not really necessarily before salvation, but early childhood, and then since you've been preaching, talk to us about some men that's been very influential in Jamie's life.
Yes, sir. Like I said, Brother Wayne Allen, he pushed me to preach. Brother Darrell Allen, when I was young, he was our pastor, and he was very influential in holiness, standard of holiness, and how we should live, what we should do, the doctrine. Before salvation, I guess you'd say, my dad he was a godly man. He is a godly man, and he lived a good life. I watched him. I watched how he lived, the characteristics of his life, and there's so many people that I could put in this perspective. We have before preaching, I guess you'd say, Brother Wayne Allen was a great influence to me. Brother Darrell Allen was a great influence to me. And the men of God that came through, that preached the revivals, the Bill Houstons and the Don Rich, those great heroes of faith that we have now were so, and you know, I didn't want, I quit wanting to be a Jose Canseco, and I wanted to be a Don Rich, you know. I quit wanting to hit home runs, and I wanted to preach a home run, you know. They changed my perspective on life and really put my perspective where it would be. And when I began to preach, I would have to say, your dad has been such a great influence on us. We knew them. I've known him since I was a kid, you know, and he's been a great influence on me in the past few years. He's really helped me. My pastor, Brother John Kahn, is a great man, and he's always been there. But I would say my father-in-law is probably one of the biggest influence in my preaching. He is a great man, and I look to him. I don't want his head to swell. Pop his head, none of this mire out of his head. No, he's a great man of God, and I watch how he handles different situations, and I watch how he preaches. He's a simple man with a simple message, but he's an anointed man. And to me, you know, you can have your 4 points in a poem, and that's all great to have it down to a T, but give me a message that's from the heart, a message that God is in, and the anointing. I want the anointing. I'm not, Brother Miller says I need an interpreter for this Kentucky hillbilly slang. So, you know.
Probably a lot of them watching out.
Yeah,
Loving that.
great state of Kentucky. But, you know, I want the anointing. You know, a lot of people misquote that scripture. They say the anointing that breaks the yoke, it destroys the yoke.
Right.
It destroy or the ability to be up, the ability to never be repaired. You know, it just destroys that yoke, that hindrance, that binding spirit. And I watch him and I see how God anoints him with simple preaching. He can get deep if he wants to, but he chooses to preach just basic preaching and the anointing that comes with that style of preaching. And that's how I preach, is I'm simple. So I knew if I'm going to be a simple preacher, then I need someone that's on my level, and he's always been there to help me and my wife. Just a great family. My mother-in-law is just a great lady, and Brother Billy Atkins is probably one of the most influential in my preaching.
I've had the privilege of hearing Brother Billy preach a few times now.
Yes, sir.
And I tell you what, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
He gets up, preaches, and there's never left from hearing him preach where I've not learned something.
Right.
But, you know, I've always felt the Spirit of God. And he's a great man, great influence.
He's a great man. He's a great man.
So moving on from that, I know we've all gone through this, and you can take this where you want. I know some of the hardships you've had lately, some of your losses, but talk to me about some struggles in Jamie Niece's life. I know people watching right now, and they may be watching years from now, that don't really understand that preachers are people, right?
Right,
I mean, like you coined the phrase here, and we're not here to preach you a sermon, we're here to learn about the man behind the suit. And talk to us about some difficult times in your life, and how did you get through that?
Well, Brian, for starters, I can look back at a lot of things and see how God has helped me. You know, one man said, you can't always trace him, but you can trust his hand. You can't trace his hand, but you can trust his hand. He's always there to help us. The Lord's been so good to me. I faced a lot of physical problems I've had in the past. You know, I've had kidney failure not once but twice. God brought me out of that. Healed me twice, kidney failure. He healed me of diabetes.
Wow.
Healed me of diabetes. Neuropathy in my feet was so bad, we went down to Brother Bruce Johnson's kennel meeting one time. And my feet were so bad I would have to take my shoes off and wrap rags around my feet because I couldn't use them to push the pedals on the dozer on the equipment at work. Just so bad I couldn't walk. have to lean against the wall to try to walk. And we went down to Brother Bruce's meeting. Some of the guys at work said, "Are you going to the doctor?" I said, "I'm going to the great physician." So, you know, I was sort of put in a place that if God didn't heal me, then those guys that work with lose confidence in God. So you have to, I'm trying to be careful what I say because I don't want to ever bring reproach upon the Lord. So really put a lot of prayer, a lot of fasting in to try to get a touch of God. And we went down to Brother Bruce's that time specifically. I couldn't walk. My wife had to help me. I was in miserable shape on my feet. It was so bad. And the Spirit of the Lord, I can remember, it came by just like a wave in that building. Brother Bruce got me up to testify. And I said, I came down expecting a miracle. I said, I need a miracle of God. And I thought I would get it that night, but I never. But I can remember the next night, the Spirit came in that place, the presence of God so powerful. It came in, and just it was like just a wave that came through the crowd. And the next thing I knew, I'm shouting. I went down on my feet, I'm shouting. I'm just so amazed because I know God could do it. And I've never had a pain since. It's been over 8 years ago, never had a pain in my feet from that ever again. God totally healed me. He healed me He kept me from death several times, like the motorcycle accident. He's healed me several times in my life. I've seen God come down and just touch me. There's no other reason or explanation except the healing hand of God. But I went through probably one of the toughest things in my life that I ever went through, Brother Brian, is a lot of people suffer from this in the church. Panic attacks.
Right.
We have a lot of people in the holiness movement that suffer from that, but they're too ashamed to admit that. One of the main problems with us as holiness people is we never want to admit we need help.
Right.
We let things, we don't want to raise our hands and say, it's me, oh Lord,
yes,
standing in need of prayer. And I faced that when my mother passed away. It intensified to the point that I became trapped in a 30-mile radius. Now, I could tell you some of the things and you'll think, man, he's nuts, don't ever get this guy to preach.
Oh, no.
Because, the torment, it's a mental anguish, a mental torment.
But feel free to elaborate, because people's probably facing that.
I know there's people that's listening to this that's faced that. I was trapped within a 30-mile radius. I couldn't go here, I couldn't go there. I had to be within so many miles of my home. I would start having panic attacks if I lost service on my phone and couldn't reach my family. And it controlled my life. I would go to the pulpit and preach, and the Holy Ghost fall, and people getting help all around me. And I would feel such power from the Lord as I preached, and then go home right back into it. I would leave the presence of the Holy of Holies and go right back into that place of being trapped. I was trapped, but I was trapped, and it was so persuasive and so the outlook, just gloom. You live in a life of gloom because you think, well, is tomorrow going to be any different than today? Tomorrow going to be any better than today? And I lived like that for years. I had it prior to my mother's death, but it really intensified when she, passed away. And revival would come, and people would call, and I would make an excuse. Let's just put it where I would make an excuse because I couldn't go. Not because I didn't want to, not because I shouldn't go, but because I was so consumed with these panic attacks. And people say, oh, they make fun of me. Listen, if you have one, you will not make fun of those people that do. You never know. I don't know if you've ever experienced it.
One time.
It feels like death. Doesn't it? All the symptoms of a heart attack, all the symptoms of that, your blood pressure, your heart rate, your panic, and people just don't understand that until you actually go through that. And I thought, my God, why am I being so tormented with this? I would lay in bed and I could not sleep. I'd have to jump up and run outside, try to breathe, and I'd wear oxygen, couldn't breathe not because I needed it, but because I was inflicted with this. I was like the lady with the issue of blood. You know, I mean, it was something that every day was a consumer of meat. And so I went on like that, and it controlled me. It absolutely controlled my life. I had a dear brother call me and want me to come to preach a meeting down in Brother Tyrone Creel.
Yeah.
Called me to preach his first homecoming down in Mississippi. And I thought, oh my, you know, I can't go 30 miles. I'm going to go down to a 10-hour drive to preach a meeting for him. And finally I got to praying, and I thought, Lord, okay. And it was I mean, I stopped several times going. I stopped, and I got down there. I finally made it there, and I thought, okay, God's going to heal me. God's going to touch me. I preached that meeting for him after when I got there. Let me tell you this, when I got there, I had probably one of the worst ones I had in a long time, panic attack. Well, come to find out, Brother Creel also faced that too. You know?
Wow.
So he knew what I was going through. You know, we don't know how many people face this. In our movement, the people that face this is so real.
Right.
The devil makes it so real. And we feel like we're actually dying and leaving here. The little things that he blows up and makes the mountains out of molehills.
Right.
But I went down, I preached that meeting for him, and I thought, God's going to heal me. Never got my healing. And I came back, and I'm so discouraged, Brother Brian, such a battle for me. I wanted to evangelize. I wanted to do something for the Lord, but it had me bound so bad. I was a prisoner right in the house of God. The preacher, the man who should never be down, the man who should never be afflicted, right in the house of God, a prisoner. But you can't, you don't want to let that show. You don't want people to see that side of it. And I went like that for a year, and I prayed, I sought God. I did everything I knew to do to try to overcome it. I never could overcome it. And then, Brother Miller called me, and this is one reason he's such an influence on me. Brother Miller called me. He said, I'm going to Brother Rock's camp meeting in Arkansas. He said, I feel like it's God's will that you should go with me. Won't you pray about it? Well, I got to praying about it, and I felt like, that's what I need to do. I need to go. So, we come up here, we're staying in Evangelist quarters, and just horrible. I didn't sleep a wink all night up. Just running outside, in and out. Finally, we get loaded up, and we head out. And you know how Brother Miller is, he drives. He never lets up, So we were headed out toward Missouri, and or that way, anyways. We make it to Illinois, and I tell him I'm done. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm done. I said, I'm going home. He said, you can't leave me. I said, you watch me. I said, I'm going back. I said, I can't. He said, Jamie, what's wrong with you? And I just broke down on him. I told him, I said, Brother Miller, I can't take it. I said, I can't go any farther. I said, I told him my whole situation with these panic attacks and the mind battles. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I would rather take hold of a man and wrestle physically than to fight something that you cannot see.
Absolutely.
And that is where the devil attacks us, And so here we are in Granite City, Illinois. I know it's where we was at, Granite City. And he said, are you serious? He would laugh at me, He just, he was just trying to, And I said, listen, he seen how serious I was. And he really knew that he realized the severity of this, just onslaught of hell that's attacking our people. And but I'll never forget, we prayed so many prayers, we had fasted, we had done all we needed to do. I could quote you every scripture and everybody would say, well, lean, trust in the Lord, lean not to your own understanding. God hath not given us a spirit of fear, and on and on and on. I said, fine. I said, listen, I know those scriptures. I know my heart. I pray those prayers. I know what to say. I know how to pray. But I'm still bound by this spirit.
Yeah.
And so you reach that point to where you say, I know everything God's told me to do. I'm doing what God's told me to do, but I see no effects of it. And that's when the discouragement begins to come, and you think, You know, there's no medicine they can give me to help this. There's no other option. All I got is God. And we're in Granite City, and I told him I'm done. I said, I've got to go home. He said, let's just stay here for the night. So I knew it was God's will to go for a drive, but I had went before and never got my healing. But that night, I was in a motel room, and I just began to pray, just like I always did. I began to call on the name of the Lord. I began to quote those scriptures. And I hadn't slept. Oh, I hadn't slept in a long time. Just tormented. And finally, I dozed off to sleep. And it was probably the best sleep I ever had in my life. Probably the best sleep I had in my life. And as I lay there, I seen this, the Lord just showed me, I guess you'd say. I seen a door, and I began to look at that door, and I seen a hand just open the door, Brother Brian, and I seen a hand reach in, and that hand reached in, and it took my hand, and it led me through this door. And on the other side of the door, as I turned around and looked, there was no handle on that side of the door.
Wow.
And I said, God, what are you telling me? And he said, I brought you to a place. I'll close the door that no man can open, and I'll open the door no man. You know, I mean, he told me, he said, I can close this door that no man can open. And there's been many times in my life, Brother Brian, I've tried to grab that handle on that door. Mentally speaking, I probably got scratch marks where I wanted to go back in that place because of the devil fighting me. But to this very day, I have never had another panic attack. Been delivered.
Thank
Now that I hand to God, I feel the Lord.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. And,
you know,
we're looking at, and we talked to you viewers. We had an interview not long back with Pastor David Webb, the founder of the Fire Conference, and he kind of touched on some of the same battles. And those of you that are watching, and you can speak to this, and Brother Webb spoke to this in a previous episode, you can still be saved, still be full of the Holy Ghost, and still do work for God and fight depression.
You're right.
And fight anxiety attacks. And I think, you know, knowing that and opening it up to the viewers,
right,
it's powerful.
Right.
To let them know.
You know, it's actually sort of, I guess, would be embarrassing. But
that's a trick of the devil.
If that's a trick of the devil, and if you've never, how can I tell anybody out there how to overcome if I've never went through it myself?
Oh,
you know, you got to go through the fire.
Yes.
And that was probably the hardest. That was the hardest battle I ever had in my life. I battled that, and the devil fought me tooth and toe, but God delivered me right there in the motel room, and praise God today. I can go preach the gospel anywhere that the Lord wants to send me without having to battle that battle of fear.
Thank God.
Fear can stop a man in his tracks.
Right.
Can close everything down.
Yep.
And put you in a place that you cannot move, that you're stuck there. I read a story one time of a man and a lady were taking pictures of wildlife, and they were taking pictures of some bears. And as that bear turned on them, the man began to run, or the lady began to run, and the man was frozen by fear. And because of fear, he became a victim. We can let fear put us in a place where we're a victim, or we can be an overcomer.
Right.
So I choose to be an overcomer.
Absolutely.
I've seen fear cause people to lose everything they have. Fear cause people to backslide. Fear cause people to be partakers in what they shouldn't be. And we can overcome fear.
Absolutely.
We can overcome fear. We can overcome anxiety. We can overcome depression. We can overcome the situations in life that a lot of people, depression and pressure, you know, is we live in a rat race.
Right.
Well, I told them a while back, I said, we've got probably 5 rocking chairs on our porch, and you probably will never see us anymore. Because we're always here and yonder, you know.
Right.
I bought my house because it had a wraparound porch, and I could sit out on the porch and rock in the rocking chair. It's got dust on it because I've never seen it, you know. But that's the lifestyle. We are in this end time, in this rat race, There's not enough hours in the day, and we're feeling so much pressure. Pressure to be a preacher, pressure to be a father, pressure to be a pastor, pressure to be the evangelist that's got to get a hold of it every time we get up. You know, the church expects us to come with our own oil, with the power of God, with it dripping off of us, the anointing. But there's so much pressure on the man of God in the hour we're living in to have that anointing and to be able to get where we need and what they need. The man of God is so much pressure on him that we don't realize he's just a man.
Right.
He's just a pastor. He's just a man.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it was such a battle. And I had one other major affliction that I'll touch on here briefly. We were in business, and you know, if a man ever gets in business for himself, you know, it's a headache a lot of times. And you know, this morning in the service, as I heard the brother talking about her dreams, her milk and preaches good, and he touched on her dreams. You know, I can remember a time that. You know, in my life, I wanted to be something. I wanted to pursue just like a normal man would like to be something. You would like to think highly of your kids, and you want to be the provider. You want to be the man that your child looks up to and says, "I want to be like my dad." You know, so you know, we got in business and did some business transactions and got involved in it, but it came to a place for us that you know, the Lord began dealing with me, that I had let go to go another direction in my life. But I had reached that place that I had dreamed of. You know, went to college to be a school teacher, went up in the coal mines. We're all coal miners. So I mean, you know, go to school to be something else and wound up going to work in the mines. So I had reached a place that I had dreamed of. I had my own equipment. I had my own job. As a co-operator, you know, that was my dream. I wanted to do that. I had watched that. That's what I wanted as far as working. You know, that's what I had dreamed of, to be sufficient on my own means. Not to say, hey, look at me, but to say, you know what, I can help this one. I tried to work the people of the church. You know, I tried to help the people of the church. I tried to help the church financially. And so I did it. You know, I did it. I thought I did everything the way it should be done, Brother Brian. And I thought, God, here I am now. I said, I'm almost in a place where we can do this to help this one or that one. And then I felt God just saying no. And I thought, oh, I worked so hard. I got bitter. You know, bitterness crept in. And I thought, my gosh, I had worked all these years to get to this place, and now I've got to let it go. And I got so consumed by it, I guess it was, and just so wrapped up in it, Brother Brian, that it tried to control me. And I got angry. I didn't understand. I didn't know why. I look around, and you know, David writes over in Psalms about seeing the wicked prosper, you know, while the righteous suffer. And I'm thinking, man, I just don't understand this. But the Lord spoke to me again, and you know, and it was such words I needed to hear. And here's what He said. He spoke to me one day, and He said, it's easier for you to bury a friend, a relative, than it is for you to bury your dreams.
Wow.
And it is. Think of it. We could put a loved one in the ground, and you know, we'll miss them. But when you bury everything that you ever wanted, everything that you ever desired, all the work, all the ambitions of life, it's easier to put a loved one in the ground than to put your dreams in the ground.
Wow.
So I thought, God, you're so right. And God brought me through that. Just the word in season. The word in season that God brought me through many trials, many. I can go on and on, but I don't want to take up too much time. But it's just amazing how God can come at that instant and deliver, set free, and speak a word to a man that'll change his life forever.
Such a powerful story. That's a powerful saying. And really, we could learn a lot from that. We've talked about your difficulties and really turned it into victories, right?
Yes, sir.
And so I mean, it's just been a wonderful story that you have given us and what God has done. What we always like to do on this show, we are next generation.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, coming in the years that follow, somebody may be watching now or in the future, tell the next generation what it's going to take to survive, what it's going to take to make it. What word do you have for the generation that comes behind Jamie Neese? What would you say to them?
One word that I would say, Brother Brown, is stability. Stability. We see people come and people go. People just don't stick anymore.
Right.
We see people come in for revival. They come in, they hit the altar. 2 services later, we never see them again. Stability. I think the generation is lacking stability.
Right.
You know, David, we all know the story of David and Goliath. We know how he defeated the giant, you know. But when you say, okay, what tools did David use? What did he have? Sling, stones? But what did he have before he ever had his rods, before he ever had the stones? David took his staff.
Yeah.
Stability. Representation of stability.
Wow.
David could have never, he used that staff for stability, to get where he was going. We got people today that's going out trying to kill giants. They got their sling and their stones, but don't have a staff.
Wow.
Stability. That's what we're lacking in this generation. If I could say anything to this generation, stability. Before you ever become a giant killer, take that rod and that staff of stability. It'll get you where you need to go.
Wow, that's great advice, and advice that I know they can all take, and advice that every pastor that's watching would be like, hey, I need you to come and preach that to my people, right? Stability. I do want to thank you for being here today. This will be our last visit.
Right.
I
appreciate
we'll be back
it.
with you, and we really appreciate the Jamie Neese story. And anyone, if you want interested in contacting Brother Jamie Neese, we do have a page there through Next Generation Network on Facebook. So go on there, like and follow us on Facebook. There's a group that's created, and you can contact us. We'll get a hold of Brother Jamie and on your behalf. Also, do us a favor. We ask you this on most every show. Sometimes we do forget, but on the bottom, click subscribe. Not only subscribe, there's a follow button, so you can subscribe and follow, and then every video that comes out, you can see them and be encouraged in the Lord. I want to say thank you for tuning in today to Next Generation Network. God bless you. Until next time.